What's up, everybody? Board Matt here. We are here to talk about the death of the de minimis. I'm going to hit why you should care about this Latin term that you've probably never heard of and how it's going to impact all of your cards, and why tariffs starting August 29th, Friday, today, are going to maybe start to hit collectibles writ large, and we might start to see a bifurcation of the market and prices being different in Europe or in Asia than they are in the US. And we might start to feel a little bit like an island. So, this is the death of de minimis. What is de minimis? So, de minimis allowed all packages to come into the United States under $800 tariff free. This has been like standing practice for a long time, and it's also like increased in frequency. Timu and Sheen are the really big like corporate offenders, but lots of small businesses use de minimis, so it allows you to get anything from anywhere for under 800 bucks. Back in May, the Trump administration, took away the exemption for de minimis, I believe, for Hong Kong and mainland China, but they're doing it globally now. So you're going to start to see tariffs on everything coming in from everywhere that's not the United States. And how many packages every year come in through the de minimis exemption? It's over a billion. It's 4 million a day come in. So there's a lot of processing, and this just means there's a lot of new machinery that's going to need to be built out to start to collect tariffs on this. So you're going to see these headlines. So wait, what's happening? Why does it care? Why do you care? Well, you're going to start to see costs depending on who you're shipping from. And by the way, guys, tariffs are not just for new goods. Tariffs are for everything. So if you are buying a used Magic card or whatever, a collectible of any sort, I do a lot of card stuff for this channel, but this really applies to all collectibles, all stuff, right? If you're looking at an opportunity like, okay, like this is cheaper in the EU than it is in the US, I'm going to buy it from the EU. I'll pay a little extra for shipping, and it's going to come in here. But the problem with that is, now, let's say you paid $200 on eBay, whatever, Deutsche eBay, German eBay, to bring something over. Now they're going to declare the value of that $200. And when it gets to the US, they're going to look and say, okay, the tariff rate for Germany is 15%. So on top of the $200 you paid, you owe the US government $30. That is right now. The problem is that mechanism is not built out. So it's not just going to be $30. It's going to be $30 plus a broker fee, plus a convenience fee. So this is not going to be clear, which has led to some bigger consequences that we'll get into as well. So these are the headlines. This is what you're kind of seeing right now. But how will it actually impact you? So tariffs are on everything. It's not just used stuff. I want to hit that point once again. It's not just buying a new thing. It's buying anything. And I know people think they can like snake around or sneak around this by declaring something a gift or saying the value is $10. You know what? Like that works, but also you're probably increasing your risk of getting into actually some trouble. Like if this is something that they're looking out for more closely now, I would be really hesitant to declare the value of $1,000 item $10 and then get pulled into a new customs investigations office, because this is something that obviously they are prioritizing, they are hiring, they are building out the machinery to do this. So long term, I would be a little nervous about fudging the math on declared value. So packages are going to be slower. Tariffs will be assessed in the value, and this could be anything from 10%. I forget which countries have 10%. They're better friends. The EU, I believe, is 15%, up to 30%, and plus a broker's fee. The broker's fee is going to be kind of the nasty part of this, because the broker's fee is like how much UPS or FedEx is charging. So typically UPS and FedEx do their own sort of shipping network, so they're never touching a local post office unless they have to. USPS is going to like pick up the stuff from Canada Post, right? It goes to USPS or Japan Mail. And this has led to 30 plus countries. I have a full list here. Austria, Australia, Japan, Germany, France, saying we're pausing shipments to the US. So just zooming out for a second and thinking about like, hey, there's 4 million of these coming in a day. If a bunch of countries are pausing, but international mail takes like 12 to 15 days, whatever, there's going to be a huge backlog, right? So whenever they decide to unpause this, which could be days, weeks, months, they get this sort of figured out, there's going to be a huge backlog in the system. So I would just expect delays. And I would also expect the cost of international shipping to go up because they're going to need to hire out, new folks for this, and like build out the machinery and mechanisms. And it's not going to be like a really clear, quick process to suddenly retool your entire postal system for one specific market, which is the US. And it's an important market, but I think this is going to lead to cost increases across the board. So let's look at one current example, and so what I think is going to happen. I think we're going to move to smaller, tighter markets. You're also going to see markets start to bifurcate, meaning the cost of something in the US is going to be different than the cost of something in Europe. And this is just an example of this magic card, Bristly Bill Spine Sword. This has been kind of like a hot card. And so there's some people that say like, oh, it's only 27 euros in the EU. What if I buy 100 copies, send them here, and I sell it for, $49, $50 on TCG? That's like maybe a $15 profit margin after, and prices have always differed in different markets, due to conversion issues, different currencies, but this is going to really start to split this, because that might have been an idea you had before. You could buy 100 of this and then sell it on TCG and whatever. I'm not in that business, but maybe someone was trying to do that kind of arbitrage. That kind of arbitrage is now like not super viable, right? Like I wouldn't want to buy anything from the EU anymore, because it's not going to be a clear, like, okay, it's just 15% of the value. It's 15% of the value plus a bunch of other nonsense that's being calculated in a very unclear way. So I would be very nervous right now about buying anything from the EU, or really anything outside of the United States. And what does that do for you as a collector, as a consumer, as a person? It just means like a hesitation, right? You're going to be a little closer with your dollars because you're afraid of scary fees at the end of the day. And so I think you're going to continue to see this like movement where stuff is probably going to be cheaper in the EU and the rest of the world, and stuff will be more expensive because it's harder to get into the US. And I think this is going to be particularly true for sealed product. People that are buying Final Fantasy booster boxes from the EU thinking, hey, they're $300 less here. This is great. I can sell it for whatever. That's not going to be viable anymore. There's going to be so much more risk involved, and fees and hidden costs. A lot of these sort of arbitrage plays are just not viable and very risk intense. And this is, like I said, this is all as of August 29th. So this is not the case before. I think I've seen some notices of people getting these sort of warnings from UPS and FedEx, but the hammer is coming down officially today. So let's wrap up here. Graded. I mean, this is also going to impact things like graded. PSA paused card submissions back in April. They still haven't reopened it. It's because it's too messy and there's not enough clarity. And maybe in 6 months we're going to have clarity, but right now we don't. And people are nervous about sending their cards in. PSA doesn't also want to deal with some tariff on top when it sends it back out, because there's reciprocal tariffs. I mean, that's the other thing as well for US sellers that we didn't hit on. A lot of countries are putting reciprocal tariffs on the US, and this is all very political. I don't want to get into it, but you could have buyers backing out because suddenly Canada says, oh no, we also have a 10% tariff on the US stuff. So then your buyers in Canada, and it's like a harder sell. It's harder for you to move goods, right? So I think that long term, this is scaring people, and it makes markets tighter and more nervous. Markets like to be, I'm wearing my economist hat here, which I have to do every day, unfortunately, at work. And markets like liquidity. Markets like to move. They like to be flexible and free. They don't like to be restricted. So long term, this is going to lead to manipulation. So what happens now? Well, in short, we wait and see, and probably all pay more money. everything will just become more expensive as time goes on. There's a few exemptions. Gifts with values of under $100 are exempt. I would be careful of what you label as exempt or, as a gift if it's really merchandise, as well as letters, just simple postage letters, assuming there's no merchandise inside. But I think long term, things are going to become more expensive. Markets are become more isolated, and it's not going to be great for collectibles. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Happy to take any questions, but if not, I'll see you guys around.